Good morning. So this morning I have a quote from Ernest Holmes, a very simple but a very profound quote, and I'd invite you to quiet your mind and to open your heart and your mind to whatever truth this may speak for you. He tells us, the divine plan is one of freedom. The inherent nature of humankind is ever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom, because freedom is the birthright of every living soul.
Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel its mighty power and its grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
And so this morning, as we join together, virtually but still connected, we know that this day can be one of freedom, that all freedom matters, and that our awareness of our freedom lets it grow. And so I invite each and every one of you to join me this week in making a commitment to look for, to plan for, to take action for, and to recognize every bit of freedom that we have. Even in a time of pandemic shutdown, even in a time of limitation, there is the freedom of the soul, the freedom of the mind, and the freedom of the heart. And so we claim our good, we name our good, and we want for everyone else what we want for ourselves: the freedom of expression, the freedom of coming and going, all the freedoms that are possible. And we claim them and we name them good in the name of God, in the name of life. And so it is. Amen.
There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
Now I turn things over to the birthday girl, Reverend Angelica.
Thank you, Pamela and Jackson. That was a very good way to start out our spiritual program this morning. So our talk this morning is "The Truth Shall Set You Free." And I've been playing a lot with this title this week. Went in a different direction than I thought I was going to. But let's just jump right in. So from the moment of our physical birth to the moment we transition back to the infinite, the world bombards us with the message of what is real. And this continued push to make us believe what we see and hear around us is the truth of life, is the human experience, and comes with all human reactions. And I've looked at this idea. My hair is in my mouth. I've looked at this idea a lot, that there is so many things that the world is trying to make us think is real. And then I found a video by Prince EA. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's really good. So I have to stop this share and go to a different one. I haven't figured out yet how to do one share on top of the, well, shoot, where'd it go? Well, in the meantime, while I'm looking for it, I wanted to mention to you one more announcement. There is a board meeting, right? A council meeting right after church, or 10 minutes or so after church. Everybody's welcome, but I wanted to remind the board members, the council members about it. All right, so we're being told constantly what is real. And this is, wait, where did it go? Is this one it? I think it is. Okay. Yes, it is. Good. This is Prince EA.
I am not black. I mean, that's what the world calls me, but it's not me. I didn't come out of my mother's womb saying, "Hey, everybody, I'm black." No, I was taught to be black. And you were taught to call me that, along with whatever you call yourself. It's just a label. See, from birth, the world force feeds us these labels. And eventually we all swallow them. We digest and accept the labels, never ever doubting them. But there's one problem. Labels are not you and labels are not me. Labels are just labels. But who we truly are is not skin deep. See, when I drive my car, no one would ever confuse the car for me. Well, when I drive my body, why do you confuse me for my body? It's my body. Get it? Not me. Let me break it down. See, our bodies are just cars that we operate and drive around. The dealership we call society decided to label mine the black edition, yours the Irish or white edition. And with no money down, 0% APR, and no test drive, we were forced to own these cars for the rest of our lives. Forgive me, but I fail to see the logic or pride in defining myself or judging another by the cars we drive. Because who we truly are is found inside. Listen, I'm not here to tell you how science has concluded that genetically we're all mixed and race in the human species doesn't exist, or how every historian knows that race was invented in the 15th century to divide people from each other and it has worked perfectly. No, I'm not here to lecture. I just want to ask one question. Who would you be if the world never gave you a label? Never gave you a box to check? Would you be white, black, Mexican, Asian, Native American, Middle Eastern, Indian? No, we would be one. We would be together. No longer living in the era of calling human beings black people or white people. These labels that will forever blind us from seeing a person for who they are, but instead seeing them through the judgmental, prejudicial, artificial filters of who we think they are. And when you let an artificial label define yourself, then my friend, you have chosen smallness over greatness and minimized yourself, confined and divided yourself from others. And it is an undeniable fact that where there is division, there will be conflict, and conflict starts wars. Therefore, every war has started over labels. It's always us versus them. So the answer to war, racism, sexism, and every other ism is so simple that every politician has missed it. It's the labels. We must rip them off. Isn't it funny how no baby is born racist, yet every baby cries when they hear the cries of another, no matter the gender, culture, or color, proving that deep down we were meant to connect and care for each other. That is our mission, and that is not my opinion. That is the truth. In a world that has sold us fiction, please listen, labels only distort our vision, which is why half of those watching this will dismiss it or feel resistance and conflicted. But just remember, so did the caterpillar before it broke through its shell and became the magnificent butterfly. Well, these labels are our shells, and we must do the same thing so we can finally spread our wings. Human beings were not meant to be slapped with labels like groceries and supermarkets. DNA cannot be regulated by the FDA. We were meant to be free, and only until we remove them all and stop living and thinking so small will we be free to see ourselves and each other for who we truly are. So what can we do in the face of all this madness and chaos? What is the solution?
Wait just a minute.
We can love. Trying to control the mind is like trying to flatten out water. You just make more waves.
It was done. Now it's done. Okay. So I wanted to talk to you about these labels. We've had so many labels. Those that he
Wow,
mentioned.
I hate this dress. Do a ton of your clothes just not fit right anymore? Before
Wait
you
just
rage
a minute.
quit and Marie
What
Kondo
happened
your
here?
entire closet, give me a minute. The answer is shapewear from shapewoman.com. Shapewear smooths you out, feels comfortable, and
How do I
boosts
get
your
out of here? Okay, this one. All right. So we've had so many different labels throughout the years. One of the labels I thought of, and we've used this word and probably heard about it a lot lately, was normal. So many people are saying now, let's just go back to being normal. Let's go back to, I wish my life would go back to normal. And yet, there is no normal. There really is no normal whatsoever. And so that, when I started thinking about that idea of that label of normal, what I realized was every single one of us has a different definition of what normal means. When we say normal, to me, it could be all my cats in the house at night and having, you know, a nice drink of hot tea and watching something fun on the television, etc. And somebody else's normal might be out looking, you know, driving out to look at the comet, or doing something active in the evening. You know, normal means something different to every single one of us. And when we're looking at other people and thinking about them or us being normal, we also add to that otherness that Prince E was talking about. We add to it by looking at somebody else and saying, like maybe you're walking downtown, you know, in Old Town, and you might see somebody and go, well, they're not normal, you know, and so you've automatically put them in another, you've put them in the otherness. So let me go back to my PowerPoint. Come on. So I thought that there's a few ideas we can think about here as we're moving into this idea of letting go of labels. Now, I will say this before I even start these 3 ideas, that the person we put the most labels on is ourself. I mean, I look at myself in the mirror and I might say, oh, you're fat, or you're old, or, you know, your posture is terrible. You have poor posture. I mean, I might, you know, and you all have your ideas of the labels that you put on yourself. And it reminds me of, I can't even remember the author right now, Gary Zukav, thank you, God. Gary Zukav wrote a book, one of his first books. And in this book, he had a diagram of a inverted triangle. So the point was down at the bottom. And he said, we come into this life with a pure mind and a pure spirit. And we're born. And the doctor takes us and maybe slaps our butt or whatever so that we cry, and then says to the parents, it's a girl. And so all the beliefs in the collective consciousness about being a girl go, and they're slapped on that pure little baby. And then maybe your parents are, the next layer he had was, you know, your parents might be white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. So all of that got slapped onto the baby. And then you were born in California, so all of that got slapped on the baby. You're born in the United States, all of those beliefs got slapped on the baby. And so right off the bat, from the time we're born, we get labels. And I think we try to work through those labels, whether we call them that or not, for the rest of our lives. So one way, or 3 ways here to look at this is, these are my ideas. So one is remembering that you're perfect just the way you are. You're, you know, if this body is God's stuff, then how can you be imperfect in any way? You are perfect just as you are right now. And if you have something, if the body's not quite in alignment with health, that too is perfect right now. We don't want to think about that as being perfect, but the truth is, it is. And we can move into a greater perfection if we want. But we need, I want us to start thinking of ourselves as perfect right as we are. Because the truth of us is that we are spirit in form. You know, when we're working with those labels, I thought about Byron Katie's work. She calls it the work. And in the work, there's 4 questions. So right now, for a moment, think of a label that you've added to yourself. And then the first question is it true? Is this true? So I might say, well, I'm overweight. There's my label, overweight. And is this true? Well, yes, it is. According to society standards, if I was living in Europe or in the southern countries, you know, as you get older, it's perfectly natural for you to get bigger. In fact, in the ancient Hawaiian times, the bigger you were, the more mana you had, the more sacredness you were holding on to. So, you know, again, this question, is it true, could be true on many different levels or not true on many different levels. And so her next question then is, can you absolutely know it's true? And again, I say you have to look at it on many different levels. On the physical level, according to society, perhaps my overweightness is true. And yet I'm healthy, you know, all things are functioning. So it doesn't need to have a negative connotation to it. Then she says, her third question is, how do you react when you believe that thought? Well, I know for me, I've got what they're calling on Facebook the COVID-19 roll. You know, it seems like a little extra roll has appeared during this time of shut-in. And how do I react when well, my goodness, you wouldn't believe how many different blouses I put on just to go to the market so that that roll doesn't show. So how do I react? I react like people are going to judge me, when the truth is I'm judging myself. And then the fourth question is the most important. Who would you be without that thought? If I just dressed to look nice and walked out without any idea, without any judgment about being overweight, I would probably be a lot happier. I would accept myself more. So for a moment of silence, I'm going to read these 4 questions again. And I want you to think about that label, one of those predominant labels that you've put on yourself. And let's see if we can let go of it. So the first question, is it true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? How do you react when you believe that thought? Who would you be without that thought? Allow yourself to take a breath. So if I was looking at these questions in the terms of the labels that we've been talking about, is this label true? Can I absolutely know that this label is true? How do I react when I believe this label? And who would I be without that label? What I know is on this screen, you are as perfect, you are perfect just as you are right now. You don't have to accept any labels. And that moves us into number 2, which is constantly accept this truth, the truth that you are perfect just as you are. Constantly accept it. It's so easy for us to get mesmerized into the world way of thinking because the world has its ideas of what's perfect. And if you don't believe that, how many of you remember Twiggy? When all of a sudden we went from being curvy women to stick figures in fashion. And that's lasted for a really long time. In fact, just in the past year or so, have the big fashion houses decided to accept the truth that everybody isn't a size 0 or a 1 or a 2, that we can be 12s and 16s and 18s, and it doesn't matter. You know, who we are inside of us is what matters. And my third idea was, in order to know that we're perfect just as we are, and in order to consciously, constantly accept this truth, we have to rewire our mind. We have to rewire our mind and pull it away from all the labels that we've allowed to be stuck all over ourselves. We have to recognize that when we're thinking that way, that is not our truth, and pivot and say something else. So if I'm putting on some clothes and I'm thinking, oh, I'm so fat, then my job now is to stop that and realize that that thought is because of a label that I've accepted, that that a societal label that I've accepted. And I can either keep making myself unhappy by accepting it, or I can rewire my mind and accept that the truth is right this moment, I am perfect just as I am. And it doesn't mean that I don't want to weigh less, or I don't want to be healthier, or I don't want to stand up straighter, or whatever our thing might be. We can always improve ourselves. We could always improve ourselves, but we don't want to make the labels part of our existence. So the truth is, we're not our bodies, our education, our job, our weight, our color, our gender, our identity, our age, or any other label that's thrust upon us. We're the universe itself having a human experience. And this universe is always, always conspiring for our highest goods. And what I know is that we're the universe having an experience, and the experience is to be a transformational change agent. It's to change the way we think, and therefore to change the way the collective thinks. When I just said that, the thought that flashed through my mind was Star Trek, the Borg. In the Borg, everybody thought exactly the same way. There was just one mind. And we don't want to do that. That's what we've sort of done to ourselves by accepting labels. So we're transformational change agents. I just love that. I love that title, a transformational change agent. That's our job. And so with this knowledge, we're able to walk through our world without fear, seeking only love, seeing only love, no labels at all. Those labels make us afraid that we're not going to be good enough. And we're good enough already. We're the universe itself having a human experience. There's no way that we could not be good enough. And I love the whole idea of the universe always conspiring for our highest good. You know, if we allowed that to be our truth, then we would find more and more good in our life every single moment of our day. The universe is here to serve us. You know, that it's serving itself. And it's going to serve itself as us in whatever way we choose to have it do so. And my feeling is it's time for us to realize that we are perfect just as we are. We are the universe itself having a human experience. And that truth can set us free. So let's say this affirmation together and go into treatment. And I thank Michelle for doing the affirmations this month. Whoops, come back. As I listen to the spirit within me, I am guided to truth and perfection as I make my way in the world. So right now, in this very moment, I choose to speak this word in the first person for all of us. And if you choose to accept it as your own, then just allow it to sink deep into your subjective mind. I declare that I am ready and willing to see the labels that I have allowed to be pasted on my sacred self. I let myself easily and effortlessly remove each one, knowing that what they've been covering up is the truth of me. And this truth, knowing this truth, sets me free. It not only sets me free, it sets everyone I experience life with free. And it adds to the collective consciousness of knowing the truth that sets us free. And that truth is all there is God. There is one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. And that life is the life that we're living and expressing and being right here and right now. So I know for each one of us that we have allowed ourselves to go deeper and to understand the truth of us, that who we really are is love, the divine energy of love. And love is the greatest healing agent in the universe. And so we open ourselves to be transformational change agents and spread love all over the world. First, all over our own lives, and then our community, and then our city, and our state, and our country, and the planet itself. We allow ourselves to be the vehicle for more love to come into the world. And in that love is beauty and wisdom and light. In that love, we are fear-free. In that love, we no longer place labels on ourselves or anyone else because we recognize there is no other. There is only the one. And for this, I am eternally grateful. How wonderful to live in a world of love and joy and peace. How wonderful to claim my place as a transformational change agent, reminding myself and reminding everyone that who they are is spirit in form. So I release these words into divine law with a grateful heart, knowing that everywhere I look, I see the face of God. And so it is. Our gift of music this morning is going to be with